Have you checked the children? Your little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Greetings, Fright fans and patrons. I'm Fuego here, and I welcome you very, very kindly and graciously to the horror show. And this is a solo patron review that I am getting ready to do here. And this, shout out John Fairley, was a revisit for me from my childhood. Very awesomely. And we be talking, I actually have a physical copy in hand. Who has those anymore? The Omega Man, starring Charlton Heston. And so this is one that I remember very distinctively watching when I was a kid back in the 90s. It was like replayed on late night TV. I'm like maybe 10, 11, watching it with my best friend, and my hardcore Christian parents were okay with it. First and foremost, because Charlton Heston, if it's got Moses in it, that's totally fine. Whatever, it's all right. And it was also PG. But yet, this is one of those films taking place, in the distant future, based on the Richard Matheson book, oh goodness, what the hell is the name of the actual title? I believe it's I Am Legend, if I recall correctly. But this was the second adaptation. First time in the 50s it was adapted, starring Richard Price. That was in the 50s, as I just said, I believe. And then it was also done with its original title with Will Smith and the aughts, and it was titled I Am Legend. Don't really like the first or the third installment of this story, but this one, as Robert the Wolfman actually mentioned to me, is the most faithful adaptation as far as just the vibe of the whole story. And so it was fun revisiting this because there was a lot that I didn't remember, and yet there was a lot that I think hit me significantly more so as an adult that I found fascinating. So overall thoughts, I dig this film, baby. I am all about it. It is a lot of fun. I actually went and I was like, okay, I can rent it for, I think it was like $3.99, $4.99 on Prime or something. And I was like, or I could go down to my local record store where they also sell used DVDs and Blu-rays and VHS. And I was like, or I could buy a copy for $5. So now I own the Omega Man. You've even got some supplemental features on here, behind the scenes documentary, The Last Man Alive, really cool stuff. So this is essentially post-apocalyptic, very early 70s sort of vibe going down. And, The Last Man on Earth, as the documentary just mentioned, that is essentially what Charlton Heston believes himself to be. And so, overall thoughts, as I said, I dig it. It's got a fun, yet a little bit over the top, little, dare I say, chauvinistic. It's a very, what is the term, blue-blooded? I don't friggin' remember. But yeah, Charlton Heston is most definitely, he's like a man's man, you dig, like, kind of thing. And yet he believes himself to be the last man on Earth, as I kind of segue into the story. The soundtrack is great to this, or the score, I should probably specify a little bit more. So it's very well shot. I'm glad they had a budget for it. Interesting dynamics that they get into. But so story, last man on Earth, obviously, right? And Heston is engaging in what, if you were the last man on Earth, or last person on Earth, to get a little bit more gender appropriate, you would probably be living in some sort of luxurious place, but isolated, obviously, because of the fact that there is a formidable danger outside. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so he's living in this area of royalty, and he's like eating nice food and smoking cigars and doing the whole niner and stuff. But outside lies the danger of what used to be humans after. So this is obviously speaking to the degree of like nuclear fallout and stuff like that. And so where Robert the Wolfman gave the distinction is that I can't even remember the The Last Man on Earth, I believe, is the title of the Vincent Price adaptation, which was, from what I hear, it's the least like the book, and so Matheson actually asked to have his name taken off of it. But I remember very distinctively the I Am Legend with Will Smith, and the fact that they're basically like a rage zombie sort of thing, whatever, so they've lost all of their humanhood. Drastically different in this, because in the Omega Man, they are straight up vampires. They're only coming out at night, like that Smashing Pumpkins song. One of my favorites from Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. So, he can basically go rummage around during the daytime. He goes to the local theater, and he's watching Woodstock over and over, which is interesting, because Charlton Heston, to me, does not seem like the type of guy that would like that hippie music kind of thing. But, yeah, so nonetheless, during the day, he's able to scrounge for whatever awesomeness he wants, whether it's, cars or, food, delectables, delights, whatever. Able to go see a movie. And I'm assuming that is one of the few reels of Sarah, and he's watched it countless times because he, quotes bits of it, which is kind of funny. But, yeah, so at night is where the streets are overrun with those who are still living and those who are no longer quite human. And so the lead villain, whose name is eluding me, he's very much like almost a cult leader sort of vibe to him. And, yeah, he is aware of the presence of Charlton Heston because the fact that Heston's, very, I wouldn't say viciously because it's a PG movie, although this was before the PG-13 rating existed. This is back where you had GPG and you had to go straight to R, and you had to really push it to get an R rating in the 70s, man, late 60s, early 70s. We're talking, pretty intense sex and violence and stuff like that. I mean, Midnight Cowboy or Easy Rider, things of that nature, or what come to mind, late 60s, early 70s. And so, but yeah, he's very willfully and rather brutally, even if the movie isn't brutal, he's mowing these fools down, man, from this high-rise, condo-y type of area where Heston's character hangs his hat. And yeah, there is that interesting dueling dynamic of how there is an aspect of sophistication and intelligence to this crew of vampires, basically. And they're all hooded and druidic looking, and wearing shades and stuff like that. I mean, that as I segue away from story, because that there is eventually going to be a final confrontation between these vampires of sorts and this whole cult-like aspect of them with the Heston character. And without spoiling things, it is a satisfying conclusion to a degree. Where things falter just a little bit, in my opinion, is where Charlton Heston's character, our last man on Earth, finds out that there are, in fact, other people unaffected, still alive. And so it's when he bands up with them, and you have this love story going down. While I most definitely dig the performance from the lady. It's the rest of her, kind of crew, so to speak, that are, very poorly developed. But then again, I mean, they're just kind of side-dressing one-note stuff. And so that's who Heston teams up with to properly go after, these druidic vampire cult, whatever you want to classify them. So, I don't know. It's well shot. You can tell that Charlton Heston is having fun with this action-centric sort of character, which is really enjoyable. As I said, the score, it's got some 70s-ish funk to it, which I really dig. I mean, the film has an essence of swagger to it, John Fairley, which I really appreciate. And this is one that I think, because it was, released at the time, and also because of the fact that over the years, Charlton Heston, unfortunately, for a lot of people in a particular sector of personal politics, because of an organization that he's associated with, and I'm not tossing any of my politics into the ring here, all right, as a registered independent, but I think Charlton Heston is one hell of an actor, man. And so even if you don't like his politics off screen, yeah, you shouldn't disregard this film because of that. And I feel like that's why it's been lost over the generations, and most notably would be shunned by certain people upon a recommendation, I think. And, of both the younger and the older persuasion. Most definitely of the younger persuasion. So I greatly enjoyed revisiting this. I love just the nighttime stuff with almost the bonfire and the torch, sort of the way everything is lit in those scenes where you get the bits with the cult. I dig the fact that they didn't go super over the top. They made them kind of cool, intellectual vamps to a degree. There is some contention among the ranks of them, which I thought was good as well. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I would most definitely recommend the Omega Man. Unfortunately, it would be a digital rental because it's not on any of the major streamers. So if you have Prime or Shudder or whatever, it's not dwelling there. You would have to fork out I believe it's $3.99, maybe it's $4.99 to rent the HD. I'm one of those cheapos that if I see it and it's not something I absolutely think is going to be great or know is going to be great and can't find it, I go for the SD, dude. I'm one of those. I go for the standard definition, which wouldn't really hurt my heart for something like the Omega Man because of the fact that, yeah, it's an early 70s movie. I don't think there is maybe there is a Blu-ray of it out and I'm just unaware. But hey, this is what I was able to track down, and damn right am I excited that I had the opportunity to, because top to bottom, I dig this movie. I know I've said that 3 or 4 times. I'm going into the 70s stereotypes. Can you dig it? But yeah, I most definitely am a big fan of this film, and I especially enjoy just the all-out vibe of it, and the fact that it's very much a snapshot of what they feel like that sort of post-apocalyptic place would be like in the early 70s, how they perceived it and what they envisioned it would be like. And I mean, man, the cars are dope in this, and the costuming, I mean, all of it. So about it, man. So John Fairley, thank you so very much for imploring me. Unfortunately, was unable to get any of the other horror show too, because since I was the one with the DVD, and since we were trying to really catch up on these patron reviews, just had to happen. So I extend a grande gracias a Jaime and Fuego, and if you would like to, well, you know, that's the thing, patron, since I'm addressing you specifically here. If you have friends that are into horror and that you think would like some of this coverage from us, that, you know, toss out the link. You know, we're trying to bring on some new patrons, some new voices to get some different recommendations, but that is not taking anything away from all of our loyal peeps who support us, help us keep the lights on, as I enjoy saying. So yes, thank you from all of us at the Horror Show, Cecil, Robert, you know, the girls, the whole crew. Greatly appreciate y'all. And yeah, everybody, until next time, remember, stay scared.